lesson is all about the fill. And if you are a novice drummer, an intermediate drummer, I think you're going to get a lot out of it. I have two words for you, and that is bass drum. Filling and making use of your bass drum is something that beginning drummers and intermediate drummers, and even some drummers who've been playing a long time, I believe don't do enough of. It adds a lot to your sound. It just expands your sound out, gives you a more sophisticated sound. A lot of drummers really play up top most of the time, and I'm going to show you some things that will really start working in that bass drum and making it an integral part of what you're doing. So everything you heard me do at the top of this video was what I'm going to get into today. And it all really comes down to three very simple patterns that you can use in many, many different ways. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to show you the three patterns, and then I'm going to show you all the different, not all the different ways. I'm going to show you some of the ways that you can use these patterns. So let's get right into it. The first pattern is 2 single strokes with the hands, right, left, and then foot, foot. I told you this was going to be easy. Trust me, it's easy. And it goes like this. That's pattern number 1. And what you want to do is you want to start slow like that. I'm sure all you guys out there can do it. And then slowly work it up. What I always say when you're working your bass drum, it goes with the hands, but it goes for the hands, but it also goes doubly for the bass drum, is be real gentle on yourself. The foot can cramp up easily. Take it slow and work it up, and you'll find with a little bit of effort you'll start to get some speed. Try and keep it smooth as everything else you do. Now the next pattern is very similar. It's 2 strokes with the hands, two single strokes, and 1 hit with the bass drum, and it goes like this. Again, just like with the other exercise, start slow, keep it steady, keep it in time, and try and play it relaxed and slowly work up the tempo. Don't push yourself too hard. Give yourself some time with these. Now, the last one is 4 single strokes with the hands and 2 with the foot, and it's like this. So there it is. Those are the three. And what you should do is, just like I played them, start them slow, work on them. Could take you a while. Could take you many hours to get up to the speed that I'm doing them now. And don't stress over it. You know, you want to be able to just be really relaxed. So that they'll have a good sound. If you're not relaxed, if you're not real comfortable with them, if they're not coming easily to you, they're not going to sound musical. So we obviously want to sound musical. That's our goal. So the first thing to do is get the patterns down like that. Once you can play them comfortably at a decent tempo, the next thing to do is start moving them around the set. So I'm going to demonstrate the first pattern and move it around the set a little bit and give you some idea of the ways you can move it around. Also, this is where you can get creative and move it around the way you like. You may have a larger setup than my 4-piece kit here, and you know, and that may give you more possibilities. But honestly, with these patterns, 4 pieces is about all you need. You can do some really interesting things with it. So here I'm going to move around the pattern number 1. Okay, so that should give you a few ideas of things to do with that. And again, work on that for a while. Get that down. Pattern number 2. I'm going to give you a couple of different ways to move that around the set. Here we go. Okay, so there's a couple of ideas. Again, you can definitely, with a little bit of playing around, you can come up with a lot more ideas on your own. Here's pattern number 3. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a good number of things to start working on. Now, once you can do these things comfortably again, start working them into beats. Play a couple of bars of beats, then play them as fills. Now, a couple of things about using them as fills. If you're ending up with the bass drum, often you'll get into, if you play a full bar, you'll often get into a situation where you have to do 3 beats with the bass drum, which is not a bad thing in and of itself. It's good to have the ability, it's good to have the dexterity to be able to do that, but to my ear, it doesn't sound that great most of the time. It could be used to good effect depending on what you're doing, but most of the time, I don't feel like you want to go that 3 often doesn't sound good. So let's start with the first. I'll show you what I mean. Let's start with the first pattern, and the way I would play it if I was going to do a full bar of this pattern, I would just simply do 4 single strokes like this. Of course, there's a lot of other different ways you can get around it, but that's probably the simplest one to start with. So here would be pattern number 1 played against just a straightforward beat. And of course, you can work up the tempo on that. So there's a place to start. Also, the thing is, doing one beat, one full measure of a beat and one full measure of the fill is a good way to get going. But after you get comfortable, you may want to start to do what I like to think of as tightening it up a little bit. And what I mean by that is do shorter fills. Do a beat and a half, say, of the beat, and then a short fill on 3 and 4 like this. Because that's actually you'll find yourself doing that a lot more when you're playing. You normally don't want to do big bombastic fills all the time, so it's good to start working these things into shorter fills. A real short fill, which sounds real nice, is just on beat 4, doing it in reverse, starting with the foot and then doing the hand. So that would sound like this. Now I'm going to show you an example of doing pattern number 2 with a groove. The way they really sound good is to play them as 16th note triplets. And I'm going to do a bar of fill and a bar of 16th note triplets, and you'll see what I mean. Another good way to use this particular pattern in a fill is to, again, not do the full bar, but stop, hit a quarter note on 4 like this. And that last one I did there, I'll show you again, is to end the fill. Improvise some kind of fill, and then end the fill with the triplets. Okay, now I want to do a little bit of pattern number 3. The next step, once you can do that kind of thing, is to start combining them. And here's a combination of pattern number 2, which you remember is, and pattern number 3, which is. So you want to start combining them, doing things like this. And then you start tightening them up again. Cut each one in half. Okay, now let's work in pattern number 1 into those combinations. Okay, now we're going to combine all 3 patterns. Okay, so there you have it, the 3 fills, lots of different ways to use them. Of course, there's many more ways, and it's really up to you to explore them, play with them, get them down, have fun with them, find out how they fit into your style. In part 2 of the video, I'm going to break it down even more, show you even more ways that you can use these fills in more of a polyrhythmic way, and also how to use them within your grooves as simpler fills, because they are great, but they're also very busy, but they don't have to be so busy. In part 2, I'm going to show you how to use these in a much more articulated sense. So tune in for part 2.